Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I'm joined this week by a well-rested Don Pizzette. Well, actually, you weren't on vacation, were you? You were like stuck in an airport or something.
Yeah, it was like a trip from hell.
Perfect.
So, thank you, Dallas-Fort Worth, and don't fly the friendly skies with American Airlines.
Could have told you that before you went. And Daniel, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm here having a good chuckle here before the show. Get me in good spirits to take on probably some horrible news, as we usually do.
Yeah, there's a lot of horrible news this week. We're going to talk about the pipeline again. It didn't happen again, don't worry. But
All new pipeline.
Another pipeline, the one that goes up. Yeah, this one was the one coming down. But we're also joined today by a special guest. We have Richard Hosgood, who is the North American Director of Engineering at Votiro. Richard, how are you?
Hey, guys.
Did you catch those fish or buy them at Pier 1 Imports?
I caught them in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Had them imported.
Now, do you get them like mounted in Mexico, or do you just like put them on ice and just put them on the plane?
They ship them to Florida and they make them and then send them to your house.
That makes more sense. Okay.
Yep.
That makes more sense.
I didn't know if you had like a live well on the plane.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. All right. Well, let's get to know a little bit more about Richard, like his professional side, as opposed to the angling side. In our first segment, rapid fire questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Richard, in this segment, what we're going to do is rapidly throw questions at you. You'll see a timer appear on the side of the screen, and you will have approximately 1 minute to answer each question. If you take too long, Peter will zap you or buzz you or whatever it is he does, and then we'll move on to the next question. So we will kind of rotate through each of us. The first question is coming at you from Peter.
All right, Richard, can you give us kind of just the elevator pitch, a little bit of an overview of Votiro and what you guys do?
Yeah. So Votiro offers a product that's called a secure file gateway, and Gartner considers it to be a product called CDR. That's the term that they coined for it, which is content disarm reconstruction. And what it does is it doesn't look for known bad content whatsoever. It cleans and sanitizes all files that are inbound to the organization. So any threat file that's attempting to make it in, we would stop it dead in its tracks before it makes it into the organization. And this could be from email to web uploads or even web downloads when the files are being uploaded into the organization.
Now, you mentioned that it like sanitizes files, and I'm thinking like traditional antivirus. When it says that it sanitizes a file, that means it deletes it. The file goes away. But I know you have something, what was it called? Positive selection technology. Does that provide some kind of special sanitization beyond what we're used to, the horrible experience we normally have?
Yeah, so antivirus technologies, they traditionally look for known threat content. So think of anything that's known bad and not known good, where Votiro looks for known good content. And we call it positive selection, but really what it does is it's template-based reconstruction. So imagine a PDF that has images and text and all kinds of elements inside of it. We would deconstruct that file, no matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent, and take more of a deterministic approach rather than a predictive approach like an antivirus would do. Another scenario that we also tend to see is organizations implementing sandboxes, but that takes in upwards of 5 to 10 to 15 minutes just to process a single file, where Votiro is doing this in milliseconds and making sure that only known safe content makes it into the organization.
Wow, that's actually really cool stuff, because I've worked some of the sandbox stuff, and you're right, it can be a bit of a slog. Now, speaking of, a bit of a slog, this pandemic thing has kind of hit most of us in ways we've never thought imaginable. It kind of changed the landscape out there, specifically in security, since that's what we're talking about. Would you say that it has been your experience that it has affected this idea of weaponized files as well? Are you seeing that in that space?
Yeah, so if you've seen the latest Verizon data breach investigation report, 94% of the time these threats are coming in through email. Now with everyone utilizing their home laptops or desktops, A lot of the traditional technologies that companies deploy on those endpoints don't exist. And these users have an unlimited amount of access with unprotected systems, where if you implement a solution like Votiro, where the data is in motion before it makes it to the end user, it doesn't matter what device that they're leveraging. You don't even need traditional antivirus solutions installed on the desktop at all.
All right, I'm changing my question because I thought of something when you guys were talking. I'm curious. So you said that this is quicker than a sandbox, which totally makes sense. But when you're just looking against a list of known threats, it's easy to say, is this the known threat? No, okay, let it through. But in the case of what you guys are doing, actually deconstructing and then putting it back together, is that slow? How quick is that, and how do you make it quick enough so it's not disruptive?
Well, that process in itself, since we're not searching for anything, or as I mentioned, in a sandbox scenario, the file is actually being opened on the machine with this specific type of software. In our case, we're not doing any of that. We're not opening the file. We're not looking for known bad content whatsoever. So what we're looking for is, where's the text? Where's the images? Go ahead and recreate them, clean those files, and then place them into a brand new template, leaving behind any threat content that may exist within that original document. And what we found is a lot of the threat content that resides inside the template is how it's executed when the file is opened. Just imagine you're opening a Word document with a macro, and inside that macro, it has an auto execution piece of code that launches PowerShell and takes over the system. What Votiro would look for is that auto execution, disable that particular piece, and then clean and sanitize the macro to make sure that it's known safe when the end user receives it, which is just a totally different approach. And I know I would say that that's one of my most difficult things, is getting people to understand that process, because a lot of companies focus in on, do you block it? Do you quarantine? We want that to happen, but that's actually impacting productivity, which is really problematic for a lot of organizations, especially when it comes to legal teams and HR teams. They need to open resumes, or you're not going to be able to hire anyone. Even with legal departments being hacked all the time, especially since the COVID pandemic, a lot of legal documents are being passed around, and they have lots of threat content inside of them. We're seeing even smaller firms where threads are hijacked, and there's threat content that's being passed between two known people where they worked together before, and they trust this individual. And you can't really train people not to open these files. It's their job. They have to.
How does your software determine, like, if I had a macro, like say I put a legitimate macro inside of a file and sent it to Don and he opened it, would it then stop that? Or how does it tell what's malicious versus what's legitimate?
Yeah, what a lot of companies consider that to be is active content, is the term that people use. Active content can be safe. It doesn't have to be malicious in nature. For example, if the macro is running an external program run action, like launching the PowerShell, that's a bad macro. That should just never occur. But in the scenario of just pivoting on the existing data tables that exist in the system itself, we would leave that alone. So we're not stripping out active content. What we're doing is we're cleaning and making sure that it's only good active content that's left within the file by the time the end user executes or opens that particular file.
And then at the end of the week, they'll take all the bad content that they've got, and they'll just send that to you in one file, so you have it.
Yeah.
You have to empty the bin once a week, or it gets full. Now, I'm curious, Peter, you left off the obvious 600-pound gorilla question, which is, what does the name Votiro have to do with any of this? So what is the origin of the company name?
So the company is originally from Israel. We're pretty big in Asia Pac. That's where we originally started. And when we kicked off the operations in the US is when we became pretty big within the States. But Votiro doesn't have a specific terminology or meaning in particular. But we did in the past, used to call the product called Disarmor, because we're disarming weaponized files. But we have since changed that to be the positive selection technology.
Well, I thought we were talking to someone good when we were talking to the North American Director of Engineering, but this is the small division. We got the little guy. All right, we'll see.
I'll tell you what, I got to go sign up to be an Israeli, because you'd say I need to be in that military because I know you got the 8200 thing going on. I want to get in that because every cool product.
They have all the cool
is
stuff
coming out of Israel every
that
time.
Works.
Yeah, it's like the Silicon Valley for security.
Yeah, really, it is.
Well, Richard seems like a happy guy, and it's all fun and games. But there are things that really get under his skin and grind his gears. So let's go ahead and jump into the next segment. What grinds my gears?
You know what really grinds my gears? This Lindsay Lohan. You know what really grinds my gears? You, America.
We now go to Peter for You Know What Really Grinds My Gears.
All right, so what I have for this one is that you're basically upset about anti-phishing awareness training that just doesn't live up to what it should. And I know I hate anti-phishing training too, because it's my boss trying to trick me, and always successfully. So, but I don't think that's what angers you here. So what is it that upsets you about that?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning earlier, especially with HR companies that are receiving resumes, think of a director of HR. They're going to have a high level of access in the company. If you were to attack that particular type of individual, a lot of lateral movement can occur. So it's problematic where you're telling people you can't open resumes because you have to hire people. That's just an impracticality. So that does tend to grind my gears when it comes to that scenario, especially the case with the legal departments receiving legal documents. That also becomes quite problematic when you tell them, well, you can't click on this file, but you should be able to click on this type of file, when most of the time they don't really know what files should be clicking on. When a lot of these attacks, the way that they work is they trigger an emotional response on the end user. The end user is reacting in a way that they normally wouldn't. And maybe because inside of the email, it says that you purchased this massive amount for this item, and then you immediately want to click on the link, or the file itself says, here's an invoice for you. I'll give you a great example. I just saw this recently where it was a UPS invoice that was received by an individual, and they were wondering, well, I didn't ship anything. Why do I owe money to UPS? So then they make you open up the executable file that was embedded directly within the email. So teaching users not to respond to emotional reactions is very problematic in the industry. And flipping it on its head, leveraging positive selection is truly the better approach when it comes to just telling people, don't worry about it. Click on anything you want. We know that it's now safe because it's being sanitized.
Yeah, I think I can see where this is going, where the answer is don't do the training, just get Votiro. But for those that maybe don't have it yet, is there a way that you would make the training better, or to fix those issues that you just brought up?
A lot of the scenarios you can't improve the training because, as I mentioned, it's more of an emotional reaction that's occurring. It's the end user who's going to react to the scenario depending upon what it is, and more of it tends to be social engineering, confirming that do this or do that or click on this thing. It's always an action that the end user has to take, and you if you're going to train your employees properly, the focus should be more so on don't get emotionally and don't emotionally react to these messages that you're receiving. Take a breather, maybe submit it to the security team to look at it further before you make an action. Because once it's done, it's done. There's no going back from an attack.
Yeah, and I guess it does kind of highlight that like just rolling out a training program isn't enough. You've got to evaluate the effectiveness of it. If you've got tools like Votiro or whatever solutions you have in place, that's going to help. And so you could get away with bad training, I suppose. But any kind of training, you need to reevaluate, improve, adjust. Things change. I know things have really changed a lot recently, because years ago it was just, hey, if I got an email and the attachment was a VBS file, then I knew that was a problem. Don't run that, right? But now they're very legitimate files, very easy to be tricked. They can even hide malicious content in images now. So that does make it really hard to train people. I love your example of HR, because human resources, you have to open up those resumes, or you're not going to be able to hire people. So it's a tough challenge. I think it'll be a hard one for people to win.
Yeah, it sounds like the one-size-fits-all approach is kind of the problem, too, because, like, if you're in accounts receivable, you're getting invoices every day. And so if I got an invoice in my job, I'd go, wait a second, I didn't, why am I getting this? So,
People know I don't pay for things.
This is not, that's not how I work. So
If anything, you owe me money.
yeah, I'll send you an invoice right back for having to read this crap.
That's right.
One of the most recent hacks that I've seen, this was very interesting, where it was very simple. It was very simple. It was an email directly to an HR user, and the individual, the hacker, knew the people who worked for the company, and they sent just a simple message: "Hey, looking to change my ACH on my account for my paycheck," and they ended up doing it. So even very simple text-based emails can have massive impacts on organization, and this goes beyond the file scenario that I'm talking with Votiro. End users just react, and that's the most important thing, is to not react, because that's the reaction is the real problem for the end users. Once they react, it's game over at that point.
Sounds like we should create training for the phishing people then, because just to say things like, hey, keep it simple. The shorter the email is, the less chance I have to see the glaring mistakes in grammar and spelling that you make. And
then when you get arrested for aiding and abetting, then,
would that be?
Where's Peter going? Prison.
For a long time. In Nigeria.
Yeah,
It's
weird.
Strange. Yeah. All right, fair enough. Well, now that you've enlightened me on that, it grinds my gears too, and I'm upset about it. And I will mention that next time we do an anti-phishing training, that I'm not doing it because of that. But it won't matter because I'm in jail. So
there you
don't
go.
have a job anyway. All right. So if people want to find out more about Votiro, where do we go?
Or if they
for
want
that?
to change their ACH. Who do they go to?
yeah, they got to.
Email me.
That's how you get them to go to your organization, apparently.
Send me the routing number. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go to Votiro.com or send us an email at info@Votiro, and we can definitely show you more about the technology and how it works. It's as simple as that, just going to our website.
And I know
Votiro.com.
I know it's silly, but I love the animation on the page, because it really puts it puts to life kind of what you've explained about taking the file, taking it apart, sanitizing it, put it on a new template basically, or a new canvas, and lets you kind of see that in action. So it's got a lot of good information there, a lot of resources on that website. So definitely check it out at Votiro.com, Votiro. And Richard, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it got you off the boat for a little bit. But I like it. You've got for those that are just listening, we've got not only the fish but the snowboards there as well. So you're set for both seasons. You've got
I water ski while I fish at the same time.
oh, that's good.
That's a talent.
Yeah, and you get ice fishing. Apparently, you do all the snowboarding. You just got to have a really long line. So, well, thank you, Richard, for taking the time. We'll definitely look to talk to you again in the future.
Bye, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, and stay tuned, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Technado with Don Pizzette right after this.
How do IT leaders stay on top of their game? With the IT Pro TV webinar series. Twice per month, IT Pro TV presents a webinar on current topics in the IT world.
What are some of the key things we should be doing in our organization to make sure that we're prepared for disasters and that...
So what do you say we go ahead and get started with today's topic, how to train your end users to
threats. So we're going to talk about some of the major things that you need to do to help keep your people safe while they're working remote.
You can catch IT Pro TV webinars live or watch on demand when your schedule permits. See them all. Visit itpro.tv/webinars today.
All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette. Thank you so much to Richard Hosgood for joining us and teaching us all about the new ways that we can keep crap out of our email, basically. Don had a good idea, though. What was your idea? Just don't accept emails?
Yeah,
That's right.
ever.
I was proposing during the break that we needed like a busy signal for email, where
I thought you were proposing the one Outlook rule to rule them all.
reject all email.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything with subject line exists.
I
Garbage.
need that for LinkedIn. Like, people try and contact me via LinkedIn. I need some way to just tell them, don't do that.
Could get off
do
LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, I could, but
There's that.
Like, it's all the people on Facebook complaining about, like, Facebook censoring me. Well, leave.
I don't know if you know this, Don. LinkedIn is known as what's called social media.
right. But like, if I ever get fired, I'll want that.
It will be there waiting for you, good sir.
And hey, this episode could be the day.
This is it.
could do it.
Don's going to fire himself from his own show.
And speaking of things that probably got a lot of people fired, let's jump in with our first story, which is Deja news.
Deja.
News.
All right, we're looking here at it.slashdot.org, and we are, of course, talking about the Colonial Pipeline. This article, Colonial Pipeline paid hackers nearly $5 million in ransom. And I thought it originally came out that they were not going to pay and were going with the old restore from backup.
Yeah, so the summary or moral of the story is the United States does not negotiate with terrorists unless it causes the price of gas to go up, in which case all bets are off. Yeah.
Did the company
They found
not
the
pay?
fatal flaw. There was like a subscript in the language.
Are you saying that the U.S. paid, not the company?
No, the company
okay.
paid. So early on, the pipeline company came out and said, we're not going to pay the ransom, that we can recover. But as a few days went by, they realized they couldn't recover because, most people are just not prepared for this type of a disaster. And so their way of recovering as quickly as possible was to pay the ransom, which they did.
What's $5 million to them?
And I think that's the problem, right? Like if I got hit by ransomware, there is no chance I would pay $5 million because I don't have $5 million. But if you're an oil pipeline company, that's,
you got $5
You
million.
know that the execs were like, "But how much you got?" But I got like $2 million.
Yeah.
right
You're like,
here."
check the couch over there.
Go in my car, glove compartment, next to the bars of gold, big wad of money.
So grab one of
them. Maybe like an hour's revenue for them.
Yeah.
And so if you have a downtime that's over 5 days, then it makes sense to pay the ransom. But it totally sucks because what it does is it rewards the criminals and it just incentivizes more of that behavior. So
Here's what's crazy.
Did they pay or did their cyber insurance pay?
No, could have been insurance.
that I don't know.
But again, when you're that rich, who needs
Yeah, I know,
insurance?
I'm just saying.
The question here is, it said that even when they paid, the hackers provided the decrypting tool, and the tool was so slow, the company continued using its own backups to help restore the system. So, I mean, if I'm going to pay $5 million, I expect a good, malware.
Yeah, like, don't give me this like off the shelf junk.
I want custom ransomware.
That's right,
written
built
just for me,
tailored
Wow.
just for us.
They're lucky they even got that because there's plenty of times where people pay the ransom and they don't get anything.
They don't get it, yeah.
Because it's not like these ransomware people are being raided by the Better Business Bureau.
I mean, they're not bad people, Don.
They're just trying to make a living.
We should make a dark web Better Business Bureau where
because making your way in the world today, it takes everything you got.
Everything you got.
Yeah.
sure can help a lot. Well, that kind of leads us into our next article here, which is probably one of the... we should have made this Captain Obvious, but this is from threatpost.com. DarkSide, which is the hacking group that's responsible for this, wanted money, not disruption from Colonial pipeline attack. So what they're saying is this wasn't intended to, disrupt the system and break down the infrastructure of the U.S. This is like, hey, they've got a lot of money. Let's go after them.
And that was a big problem. So at the very beginning when this hack happened, basically you have a Russian hacking group that has compromised a U.S. infrastructure company. And so it's pretty easy to make that accusation and say, oh, this is the Russians attacking the U.S. And that's problematic for these hacking groups because, really there's no punishment that's going to come from the United States for them, right? They've gotten away with this scot-free. Like they're going to get away. But if they cause the U.S. to retaliate against Russia, now that's going to incentivize the Russian government to start trying to clamp down a bit on some of these hacking groups. I mean, unless they're sponsored by the state, which we don't really know. So that kind of put them in the spotlight, and they didn't want to be in the spotlight. They just wanted $5 million. They didn't even care about who it was. And so they kind of went on a little PR campaign and started saying, like, for now on, we're not going to target hospitals or schools, and we'll give discounts to this type of organization. Yeah,
there's coupon codes now with your ransom.
These are the philanthropist ransomware hackers.
And so, people kind of started to laugh at them. And then it's not in the article, but towards the end of the week, they took down all of their websites, all their dark web websites, and they put out an announcement saying, hey, all of our servers have been seized and they drained our accounts. But when you look, because, like Bitcoin wallets and stuff, it's easy to trace that. So people can see, like, well, they just transferred their money out and they took their own sites down. So, these are criminals. They're not going to give you the honest story. And so it doesn't really matter what they say.
This is like when I was in middle school and stuff, I would use self-deprecating humor because I'm like, if I make fun of myself, other people won't. Like the bullies won't come after me. So that's what they're doing. They're like, oh, you don't have to punish us. Look at us. I already got taken down by this police group.
We feel really bad about it. It's all good.
Yeah, that's our bad right there, man.
Well, I wanted to ask, this begs the question then, so you look at it and you say, yeah, oil company, lots of money, sure, but the disruption that it can cause and the ripple effect that could have. So if you were DarkSide or had your own, hacking conglomerate, who would you go after that both has the most money and would not have a big impact on society? And I'll go first. Mine is the E network, or the Kardashians specifically.
Sure.
I don't know if you could hack just a family, but I would go after them. I don't know if they have any data.
That it should be pretty easy to get.
Yeah, I don't think they have a lot of data, but I probably can guess the passwords.
Really, any entertainment company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like Sony, like when there was that Sony hack. But
Disney.
that
Go
wasn't
for
ransomware,
Disney.
was it? Disney?
Yeah, they got a lot of money.
Oh, but if you take down Disney Plus, there are
Right?
kids that just
'Cause that
watch
means I'm
Moana
gonna get
just
some of
all
that
day,
money.
every day.
Yeah, but we're not getting like new episodes of Mandalorian until August, so you got months. It's fine.
Yeah,
But
but
remember when Sony got hit? Nobody really cared,
No.
right?
yeah, it didn't really go offline, right? It's just
Sony
we got to
cared.
read all their fun emails.
Yeah, that was fun.
We got to watch the interview early.
Yeah, for free.
for free.
Yeah. And I
Changed
still want
my
my money
life.
back. Yeah.
Well, I will say one positive thing that came out of this, and I don't know if you guys follow it or not, but there's a subreddit called Idiots in Cars. And with the gas shortage on the East Coast,
Oh my
there have
God.
been a ton of postings of people hoarding gasoline, and it is ridiculous, some of the things that are happening. Like there was a lady who had transparent trash bags, and she was filling them up with gas.
I heard
Like,
of this.
Like
My-
Walmart bags. Just
my favorite was the Hummer. So a guy had an H3 or whatever. He filled up 5 25-gallon container. I think it was 5 5-gallon
like
containers.
actual
of
containers,
gasoline.
though. He had legit
Actual
containers. Good for him.
But he had them in the truck, and then he lit a cigarette. And so the car
Like pulling
burned
out of the
down
gas station.
Car burned down to the frame.
Yeah.
So the pictures are absolutely hilarious, and it shows man's inhumanity to man or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the people, like, if let's say you fill up your Walmart shopping bag with gas, how's that going to stand up in the car? What is the end plan here?
Well, it's like when you buy a fish, right? And it's a little bag. You
Oh,
tie
you
it
gotta tie
in
it
the
off?
Fine,
Yeah,
yeah.
you gotta tie it off.
No big
Great.
deal.
Gasoline's not
And I'm watching the
caustic.
people with like the big Rubbermaid, Tupperware containers, and going, how are they going to lift that up?
Yeah,
Because that's
They're
heavy.
not. Because if it's how many gallons? 50?
Yeah.
Right? So about 9 pounds a gallon.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you just want to be next in line because you can just pull the gas out of that tub, then somehow put it into your vehicle. Because
You
that's
siphoned it, I guess, right? Is that what you do? You just leave it in the vehicle and
What I did is I stole a tanker truck that was empty and then reverse pumped it back in. Everybody thought I was there delivering.
And the crazy thing is, a lot of this that I was seeing was happening here in Florida, where we get our gas mostly from the port of Miami.
Right.
So
Didn't really.
not affected.
Yeah, not a big deal.
This was there was no shortage, only because we were in line is why there was a shortage.
Yeah. It sucks to be landlocked.
I will say, the wife and I both have hybrids now, plug-in hybrids.
Yeah.
So we just plug
laughed
in.
And therefore, I have a hybrid.
Just doing
So I'm
loops
like,
around.
I'm going to need that car.
Okay, good times. All right, well, let's go on to our next article here, which is from TheVerge.com. Cloudflare says it's time to end CAPTCHA madness and launches a new security key-based replacement. So I'm confused by it saying they're launching a new security key-based replacement because from reading the article, it sounds like they're just saying, hey, you should use the YubiKey.
Yeah.
So how's that launching something?
So first off, I can't read the word madness without thinking of Space Madness from Ren and Stimpy. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
I think Reefer Madness.
Well, there is Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
On it. Space Madness was funnier. But in this case, they are talking about not just YubiKeys, but any kind of FIDO compliant key. So one of the challenges that you have when you browse the web is there's a lot of automated traffic that's out there that's mostly attack traffic. And so if you can identify that and filter it out, that knocks out a lot of the reconnaissance attacks that are out there. And the most common way to do that is a CAPTCHA. We've all seen it. Are you a robot? Are you human? Click on everything that has a bicycle in it. Click on everything that has a bus or crosswalk or whatever,
And there's always that one little bit of crosswalk. You're like,
Yep.
do I click this
Here's
one?
these fuzzy letters that you can't possibly
Oh,
read,
yeah,
so you got to
those are
play the
fun.
audio thing because you are a robot
Yeah,
and don't
or
know
God
it.
forbid you have some sort of color blindness. I've seen those too, where it's like,
Oh, yeah.
the colors are just a little off or whatever.
And so maybe it's like in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, where you begin to think that maybe you are an android by the end of the book. You don't know. So what Cloudflare is saying is, look, we need a better way for people to prove they are who they say they are. Well, what's one method we already use? Multi-factor authentication, right? What if you had a token that identified you? And then when you went to a web page, instead of having to click on all the crosswalks or flip the cow upside right or whatever it is you have to do, you just plug in your multi-factor authentication token, your key. So a YubiKey is a great example because they cost about $30. You pop it in and off you go, right? So that's a great idea, I think, because it's easier than dealing with this CAPTCHA BS that we deal with, right? However, the one thing they're not really calling out is that the token needs to identify you, that you are a person, that you are unique, right? So this is a way of de-anonymizing your internet access, right? They might not know your name, but if I go to 15 different websites and pass the test by using the same token to identify me as a person, they now know that it's me that went to these 15 sites. So there's some real privacy concerns. I was surprised to see Cloudflare pushing it, but I understand why. You know, they are kind of the gatekeeper of, it's something like 25% of the internet now. A huge portion of the internet is behind Cloudflare as far as like the top 100 websites visited and so on. So I see what they're trying to do. I think it's a neat idea. I've said for a long time that if you want to make the internet a better place, remove anonymity, right? Like all the trolling that happens is because people are able to do stuff anonymous.
Yeah.
The attacks, the hacks that happen, all that is because people can do things anonymous.
It's like, the author of Conan, right? He said that a barbarian society is actually more polite because in a modern society, you don't have to worry about someone cleaving your skull in two if you say something nasty.
Isn't that like an NRA saying, right? An armed society is a polite society.
Yeah, very similar. That's right.
So if everything you did on the internet had your name stamped on it, right? People would behave a lot better. Privacy would be out the window, but security would be up. So these are the choices we make.
There's a lot of people that like are down with that now. Like, let's just get rid of privacy and private ownership, and therefore we just tell you what you need, and you can have it, and then you're happy.
Just like they want you to be.
Yes.
Well, the other thing they mentioned in this article, after talking about the keys and like YubiKey, is using your phone. And, you know, whether you did NFC to tap it to your computer or things like that, we've all got the phone, you know, most of us, a lot more than have, you know, YubiKeys. Yeah. So why not just go that route? But I was wondering if you could just like reprogram the like Moderna or Pfizer chip you have in your arm and like use that.
Well, so another argument on this one was that in order to authenticate, you had to have a token, so the token cost money, right? Yeah. Do you guys remember years ago somebody was pushing to do where every email cost a penny to send?
Oh my god!
No.
Right? It was an email tax they were proposing.
Oh, yeah. I do, because the USPS was like hurting horribly because lettered mail was going down dramatically or something.
I mean, that's true, but it was actually just tied to the fact that right now, if I want to send out 1 million spam emails, it costs me nothing.
That's true.
But if it was a penny each, your average person wouldn't care, right? Because, you know, you send 5 emails a day, that's 5 cents, who cares, right? But the fact that you were willing to pay that penny showed that you were an actual living person and so on. So
tied to a bank account.
Kind of the idea here.
Yeah. Interesting.
Makes sense.
Hey, they're trying something, right?
Yeah.
That's all there is. Like you say, Don, don't come to me with just problems. Bring a solution on board with that.
I don't think this one will work.
Might be not a good one, right?
Yeah, it'll have to be refined somewhat, but I'd be willing to give it a shot.
Yeah. It's funny how a lot of things like that, we have these problems that are super difficult to solve, so there's almost this non-start. And sometimes you just got to get the ball rolling. Yeah, crappy idea. Give me the crappiest idea you got, and we'll start from there and you know, refine it.
Yeah.
What if I could monetize my own email account to say, oh, if you want to email me, it costs a penny. So, like, you know, your friends are like, oh, that's worth it to send you an invite to this party or whatever. But, you know, like the big companies might go, you know, I don't know that I want to.
You wouldn't get spam, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
But you also wouldn't get password reset emails. So, you know.
Maybe I could whitelist certain people or something.
Now you're thinking.
Yeah.
See, it got the creative juices flowing over there, and he's coming up with
copyright.
TM.
That's my thing.
There are some witty things. Like I was talking to a guy a couple of years ago, and he said one thing he did is he created an inbox rule that looked for the word unsubscribe. That if you had the word unsubscribe anywhere in the email, just move it into spam. Because he said none of my friends are going to say unsubscribe to me.
Yeah. And a password reset wouldn't have unsubscribe, most likely.
Wouldn't likely, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that was people come up with creative, interesting ways like that to be able to try and reduce spam where possible.
I'm looking in Thesaurus right now for unsubscribe as a marketer to go.
That's why some of them now say, like, update your preferences.
Yeah, would you like to?
They don't want to say unsubscribe.
Desubscribeify?
Desubscribeify.
Gotta make up your own words to make this happen.
Yeah.
Like we are still compliant. All right, our next article is from Bleeping Computer and is about Windows. That is not the right Windows because that is XP.
You're
and
killing it on the
Windows 10.
soundboard.
Yeah, I'm
Just
just
got it going today.
pushing some buttons here. If I don't listen to you guys and just focus on the board, it goes a lot easier. It's hard to get like the sounds in between the things you guys are saying, so I'm just cutting you off.
Go for it.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Windows 10 is gaining these nifty enhancements in the next update, and boy, oh boy, I can't wait to hear what is it. Dark mode? Is it another darker mode?
It's not a dark mode, but it's almost as bad, right? So Microsoft has been telling us for a while that the next major update to Windows 10 is coming, which is called, I just scrolled past it. There it is. The 21H2 update, right, which is supposed to be the second half of 2021. Is
that from Hummer? Hummer as well?
Sure,
H2?
Yeah, just like that.
It is an H2.
And so the update is coming soon, and you might ask yourself, what constitutes a major update? Obviously, it's major, so there's going to be some big features. In the H updates, that's when they roll out new features, not like the security fixes they roll out all year long. Well, in this particular case, their major update is a little underwhelming.
Okay, hold on. Drum roll? You want a drum roll?
Sure.
Okay, you ready? All right. All right, go ahead, Don. What do we got?
First off, HDR support for color-managed apps, which if you're a graphics designer or a video editor, you might care about. The rest of us is absolutely dumb.
I just peed.
There you go.
Has nothing to do with this.
What a lot of people have been talking about is they're changing the default system font. They're switching to a variable font that looks better on larger and smaller screens.
What's their font now? Is it
Sego UI, isn't it?
No.
It is Calibri or something like that. Yeah. And so now they're switching to Sego UI variable. They're doing this so they can use one font across small mobile devices all the way up to large tablets and even TVs.
Well,
so,
that seems like a legitimate reason.
One
to change
font
a
to rule them
like,
all.
Yeah.
Trying to make a better experience at the end for everyone.
But have you ever switched operating systems because of a font?
No.
So, all right, so not a major feature then.
No, not a major feature.
Yeah, I won't
agree
use
with
Comic
that.
Sans Linux anymore because of that.
Done with that.
Yeah.
They are introducing a new feature that if you've used Macs, you've had for a long, long time, which is when you restart your computer, it can automatically launch the applications that were running prior to you rebooting in the first place, which is neat.
That's very nice, actually.
Although in the preview, it only worked with Windows Store apps, which is basically useless. I don't know if they've rolled that out to include other non-Windows Store apps.
I thought they were going to troll us like, it only works tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will also reopen the application that caused your system to lock up in the first place. Just creating an endless loop
of, well, this is done.
Now, thanks to the pandemic, they have rolled in some new camera settings. So if you have if you install a Logitech camera on your system, you can't adjust a lot of stuff until you download the Logitech software. If you want to do manual focus, change the contrast and all that. Well, Microsoft is starting to bake some of that in for a lot of cameras. So that'll help out now that the pandemic is ending and people are going back to work. Just in time for us not to need the cameras anymore. But that's starting to roll out.
That's a tricky one when they don't own the hardware.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But, we'll see where that one ends up. Otherwise, it's just some really light UI stuff that's changing. Not what I would describe as a significant update. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I take the update and don't even notice it.
Well, you'll be like, hey, this font looks a little different.
I don't know that I'm going to notice that.
And I didn't really care.
Look at all these serifs on my...
Don, you're full Windows now, right? You're not running the dual boot machine anymore, right?
No, so my laptop dual boots Windows and Ubuntu.
Okay. I thought you had said you'd WSL. It's
oh, no.
Kind of just changed your life.
I do boot to Ubuntu a lot less.
Gotcha.
And, I've got my Windows terminal. It defaults to WSL. So I can drop right into Linux when I want. Yep.
I do use it. I find it handy because there's a lot of things that I'll want to do in Windows. And it's like, man, this is so much easier in Linux.
Yep.
Here we go. Now it's easy.
All right.
They should here's a major end user update. It's now Linux.
Well, I've been saying there needs to be a Microsoft Linux. There will be one day. Just I don't know when.
All right, fair enough. We'll look for those updates and let us know what you think in our forum over at technado.do. Let us know what you think about the new Windows 10 updates.
I think Gloria Estefan is right, and one day the rhythm will get you.
It's coming.
Are we going to cover the Benefer thing? Is that our article list?
I don't think that's our next article.
No? All right, maybe that's
Do we
next
know
week.
that they're back together, or they were just spotted together?
Who knows?
I don't know if they were holding.
We can all hope.
anything.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah. I will do some searching and see if we can find out. All right. Our next article is from my favorite, Behind Bars, which is, dang it, I can never find
He
it.
spent the majority of his formative years, so.
Break the law, and you'll go to jail.
All right. This one made me physically mad yesterday reading it, because at first I was like, oh, that's funny. And then I spent some time on the guy's Instagram. But this one is from Ars Technica. This says, Tesla owner who drives from the back seat got arrested and then did it again. Man jailed for leaving the driver's seat empty says he feels safer in the back seat. So we can go through. There's a few things that upset me here. Number one, I call BS on his feel safer in the backseat thing, because I watched the Instagram video of him where he is not buckled in the back seat. He's got the buckle on the front seat done so that the Tesla thinks there's someone in there.
As sophisticated as the Tesla is, apparently that's all it takes to trick it. If you just buckle the front seatbelt, it assumes a human being is there.
If I put a backpack in the passenger seat of my car, it'll like flicker the airbag on and off as the weight. Tesla doesn't know there's absolutely nothing in the front seat of this vehicle, and there's just a douchebag sitting in the back seat.
My car actually has a little like infrared sensor where it knows that a human being is
Does it
sitting.
really?
Yeah.
I just buckle my dog in, and
That'd be even better.
Don't drive angry.
my dog's just looking out the window.
You got to keep your hands on the steering wheel, so put a little peanut butter around the steering wheel, and you're set to go. But the second thing that got me on this one is the quote from this gentleman, Param Sharma. He said afterwards, because his car was impounded, his Tesla, and so he leaves jail, goes and gets a new Tesla, and does this
What kind of
again.
money is this guy
Well, that's
making?
what he asked. When asked if he purchased a new Tesla after the previous one was impounded, he said, quote, "Yeah, I'm rich as F. I'm very rich." So I hate this guy.
Okay.
So, reading the article, you do get a little frustrated this guy endangered other people. But if you watch his video, he's like the most smug douchebag possible.
He's got like the tags hanging off of his,
You
Gucci
gotta be
scarf
kidding
and
me.
stuff, and it's just like,
Someone's going to hang him with that scarf.
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But
there were accusations early on that people had seen somebody driving down the interstate with no one in the driver's seat in a Tesla, and the Tesla spokesperson came out and said, no, that's not possible. You can't drive a Tesla without somebody being in the driver's seat. There was a video of two guys who decided to do it as a prank or whatever, wrecked into a tree. And so that was going around. And so then people were saying, well, like, wait, you said you couldn't do it. The Tesla people said, yeah, they must have modified the car. Well, then this guy comes along, and his modification was just buckling that seatbelt.
Yeah.
So key lesson here, cars are not smart enough to drive themselves yet. And so
You don't say.
Yeah. And cars are incredibly dangerous. People are afraid of guns, but cars, a car going 5 miles an hour can kill somebody.
Yeah. Plus, he had those like clear plastic bags full of gas in the back.
Well, yeah.
no, it's a Tesla. He's fine.
No, he still had to get gas.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
So that was
Because the news told him we were running out of gas, so he went and got some.
on the Idiots in Cars subreddit. There was a picture of a Tesla at a gas station, and the lady was filling up a gas can, and the little caption was, "Should someone tell her?"
Man,
She's just getting gas for her like lawnmower or something.
this guy was on the Bay Bridge doing this out in San Francisco between Oakland, and and he says people have brake checked him, and that his car came to a complete stop on the bridge, so he's good.
Well, there you go.
So, but take
I
a
wonder
look at this guy.
what does he do for a living? How does he make his money?
He is a son of a.
He
he's like
was
17,
born.
18
That's
years
one
old.
way to do it.
Oh, goodness gracious, you're kidding me.
No,
My high school career counselor never offered that one up to me.
Just be born rich.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you
dang
considered
it, I should've
family
done
money.
that.
she was all like, "You should join the army. You're not going to make it in college." But I could have just been somebody's son.
I gotta say that the best part about this is he is retweeting or sharing different people's posts, like of videos being like, "Hey, I saw a Tesla today with nobody driving." He's basically given the prosecution the entire
every
evidence
evidence he
in just
needs.
one Instagram feed. So it's
In
all
today's
set.
day and age, they'll be like, I find this to be a legitimate thing. Just let the man drive in the backseat of his car. He didn't hurt anybody.
It's a God-given right to let your
that's
car
right.
drive you.
That's right.
The libertarian platform. Yeah, he's taken care of. All right.
It's a God-given right. It's in the Constitution right there. Tesla.
God wouldn't have made Teslas if he didn't want me to drive around in one.
George Washington wouldn't even come over here if he didn't think he could do that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did I see a steering wheel when he was crossing the Delaware? No.
That boat just went that way.
Yeah.
All right. All right, hey, we got some webinars coming up. We got one today, actually. Take your WVD to the next level. That is not
WVD treated.
Yeah, you do. You get penicillin shots for that? It's like...
Doctor, I'm afraid my WVD has gone to the next level.
That's right. This is a real flare-up here.
Azure monitor and hives. But this one is about Windows Virtual Desktop, in fact. And Mike will be talking about that with Wes and how to clear up your WVD. That's today at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Head over to itpro.tv/webinars, and you can sign up for that. And if you're listening to this at a later time, don't worry. You can check out the archive at that same page. Also have another one coming up on June 3rd, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which is Breaking the Code of Digital Transformation, What Most Organizations Miss When Creating Digital Strategies. And Chris Ward is hosting that for us, but we've got Mark Bradley and Leslie Landry as the subject matter experts, and they are very well known in that ITIL world. So definitely check that one out. Again, that's June 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, itpro.tv/webinars. We'll have all the registration info for those. And while you're on that internet, head over to technado, aka technado.com, and you can see all the latest episodes. You can contact us and tell us some articles you'd want us to cover, or tell us why we are wrong in any of the other articles. And we got a link on there now to the swag store, so you can go and get that Technado shirt or sticker pack and represent. And also there's a big orange link in the upper corner that says sponsored by IT Pro TV. Click on that and get 30% off coupon code for your personal membership for the lifetime of it to IT Pro TV. And you can also request a team trial and see all the great features available for teams from IT Pro TV. All right, nailed it. Well, Don, it's good having you back.
Yeah. I would have much rather have been here last Tuesday than stuck in the airport as I was. So very unpleasant.
Love the airport. It's like your own little episode of The Terminal.
Man, it was packed, and it's still full pandemic protocol, except you can't be 6 feet away from people. It just it was bad, bad all around. And I learned American Airlines has a policy that even if you're halfway through your flight, if weather cancels your connection, what they do is they give you absolutely nothing. And that's it.
Verbal abuse you.
They don't even give you your luggage back. So
your flight got canceled. You're so stupid.
They will point you to the Chili's to go.
Yes.
It's over there if you want to get something.
They don't actually verbally abuse you. I don't want to be liable here.
No, they do. They do. Yeah.
Not by policy, though.
Next week we have Jorge on, who is one of the AWS trainers we've had in, so that'll be exciting.
Oh, cool.
So we will look for that. But until then, we will see you guys next week right here on Technado with Don Pizzette.